Going for two, kickers are extra, I give them the boot. Ooh, going for two, sit back, relax while I grab me a brew. Ooh, now I'm reclining while putting my time and I'm ready to go. My spine is aligning and much my lineups, my bank account grow. I am so rich, but knowledge is all that I'm leaving it with. Ooh, listen to this, multiple options, how far can I get? Ooh, DFS Dynasty redraft tonight, I'm not finishing last. I'm finishing past any and all, I am looking to last. What else? This spot is popping and I am so locked in and only opening the door when it is opportunity knocking. And all of these spots keep on talking and talking. So what are we talking? What kind of alignment? And running it deep, even players forgotten or came from the bottom or hitting that top end. And this spot is popping, yeah, this spot is popping. And woo! This is the Armchair, yeah. Put up your arms, yeah. Sound the alarm, yeah, yeah, yeah. Woo! This is the Armchair, yeah. Put up your arms, yeah. Sound the alarm, yeah, yeah, yeah. Ooh.
What is going on, guys, and welcome to episode 233 of the Armchair Fantasy Show. I am your host, Captain Obvious. You can follow me on Twitter at JeffLambert77. Of course, we're a part of the Going for Two live podcast network, and we are live every Wednesday and Friday night on Periscope, YouTube, Facebook Live, pretty much everywhere you can find your podcasts. Well, we're live there as well. Also on the app for iOS and Android. And I'm here tonight with my co-hosts, two of which you're not going to be able to see right away. But we do have the Grim Reaper here. Looks like he's partying somewhere in the middle of the woods. What's up, Tim?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm out here at a party. I had to come through for my DFS pick, so Grim Reaper checking in.
Good stuff. And then we also have Jason over here. Jason, I can't tell what are you? What is that?
Bro, you don't see my girl right here, man? You don't see my girl?
Yeah, I see
my
it.
girl?
Okay.
I'm Urban Meyer, bro.
You getting your lap dance?
This is my girl right here, man.
Getting your lap dance.
We grind on this show all night long. This is blonde hair right here. We got this.
Good shit. Good shit. And somewhere there is Gerson as well. Gerson, where you at? Oh shit, he's got his own music, his own intro music. Oh shit. It's coming as King Henry. King Henry has joined us. That's awesome.
King Henry has arrived, fellas. Some of you peasants aren't worthy of my status.
That shit is awesome. Good shit, guys. Good shit. Tim, I feel sorry for you, man, with that mask on, though. I know you got to be getting hot as shit right about now.
It'll be a long show.
Yeah.
I would have been to drink his beer. He could fucking go back.
Yeah, I made sure when I was getting my costume, maybe something that was like something I can just throw on real quick and not have to worry about it being too hot. So Captain Obvious was my choice. All right, guys. Y'all ready to jump into the show?
The Weekly Rewind. Rewind.
All right, King Henry, I'm going to go to you first because you let everybody down last week. How did your week go?
It was alright. Just not the best week. But a lot of my plays hit. I just didn't have the right combination of them, which sucks because I hate when that happens because you're like, oh, man.
Yep.
But then, at least I hope some of you guys played some of my plays, and you put it together better than I did. And yeah, but I had a lot of Derrick Henry, of course, that killed me. But I pretty much he was my heaviest owned player, and I thought, that just killed my roster because he was I think 9,100.
Yeah, he definitely did. He killed my cash roster too. I wish I had gone Cup over Derrick Henry. I would have cashed. My cash roster did not do well. My GPPs did pretty good. Unfortunately, Derrick Henry also killed me in a lot of my leagues. And then for some reason, I was on the Tennessee Titans defense all week. And for some reason, I ended up with no defense from the Titans at all. I don't know how I missed on that. I was like, they were my defensive choice all week, and then somehow built lineups and didn't have them in any of my lineups. So I was pretty pissed about that. Tim, how'd your week go?
Yeah, I was kind of like Gerson, man. Pull back the curtain for you guys a little bit. I run a season-long DFS tournament called the Roundtable Arena. And usually it's me and Gerson giving out our plays and then other people beating us with those plays.
I know.
This past week, that was not the case. I absolutely got killed, and all of the plays that won were the plays that, I did not get right. So, like Gerson said, I was heavy on Derrick Henry, I was heavy on Devontae Adams, and heavy on Daryl Henderson, and all of those did not pan out. So, kind of a rough week for me, but ready to bounce back here.
Yeah, an update on our sick calls. So now I've hit 3 in a row, and I had Dante Pettis last week, so he did good. It was his birthday too, which I didn't know at the time, so that worked out for me. Tim, you crushed it, man. CJ Uzama. Yeah, that was an awesome one.
Sick call, man, coming through. It was huge. Man, he got that first one, he already paid off, and then he got that second one. He was slate breaker.
Yep.
People were like, "Oh man, you had to win all the money, right? You had Uzama." I didn't have Chase though. Or at least not together.
Yeah, I didn't have enough Chase either. I had Chase in my lineups, but not enough of them. Unfortunately, Gerson, Tyler Johnson didn't pan out for you. You have yet to hit on one of your sick calls yet, but that's all right, though. This week will be the week, man. I feel it.
Thanks, Captain Obvious.
I knew that was going to come up at least one point in the podcast. All right, let's jump right into it.
Let's talk quarterbacks.
All right, as I look across this sheet here, there's one name that's on all of our lists here. Tim has him listed as Josh motherfucking Allen. Gerson has him listed as Josh the Stallion Allen. So I'm gonna go to you, Jason, and you're gonna talk about him a little bit. You have him listed normally. Jason.
Yeah, I have him listed as just a normal Josh Allen. But to be honest, you can call him whatever you want. He's the I like to call him the unicorn. To be honest with you, he can run, he can pass, he can do everything. I like Josh Allen. He's playing 26 years DVOA this week as well. He's playing the Miami Dolphins. He always rips them apart every time he plays them. He scored 37 points 2 matches ago on them, and then he has a floor of 20 points. For the cash games, if you want to pay up, that's your pay up guy. But to me, there's other guys I'd rather go to. But if you want to play him for cash game, he's a good cash game play. I don't know if Jeff told you guys, but I'm a cash game player out of all of us. I love cash games. I think it's just pretty basic and it's kind of boring, but I like it. It helped me win a lot of money.
Yeah, cash games are good because you win a lot more than you lose usually if you're good at it. So GPPs, you got to hit that big one in order to sort of break even, or like Gerson, hit the big one, the real big one, and then just be comfortable with that. I'm going to go with you, Tim, on this next one because you and Gerson have the same guy here, but I want to talk about Mr. Hurts at 7.2.
Jalen Hurts, man. I play him every week, right? Like, I just feel like the answer to DFS this year at quarterback has just been play Jalen Hurts every week. He's hit over 20 points every week. All this nonsense about, they're going to bench him for Gardner Minshew. Get the fuck out of here, dude. Minshew staying on the bench. Jalen Hurts has earned the respect of this team, and Nick Sirianni, he's going to remain the quarterback, even if they lose this game in Detroit, which I don't think they will. So the floor that he gives you with his rushing is so high, and he's been actually looking better at quarterback. I think he can actually put some yards on this Detroit defense. I just think he's such a good player, and you save 900 over Josh Allen.
Yeah, I like it. Gerson, you have Matthew Stafford listed there. Of course, he's pretty much a play every week the way he's been playing lately. But why this week so much? Do you like him?
He's basically the reason why I've been breaking even or just making money. Stafford is just killing it. I mean, I think right now with his ceiling is almost like 30 points, in that offense. But his floor is so good, like it's 20 points. I mean, if I can get that for my quarterback, and he's 7,600 now, it is a little bit pricier. But in this game environment, I think they're gonna blow him out. And the Rams do very good things at beating good shitty teams. Yeah. I mean, like they just whoop the shit out of them. They never struggle with shitty teams. I think I'm glad they're starting David Mill because he's just gonna sling it rather than Tyrod Taylor is more like a game management guy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Brandon Cooks a good run back with this offense, but the stacks aren't cheap, so you have to find a way to be different. So I love him in this game. They rank 12th in DVOA, but really that Texan the offense is not good, so you're going to get more opportunity on the other side of the ball. So
yeah, expect turnovers for sure with that defense, especially. All right, so the only guy I have is in the top tier, and there's no real stats to back this up. I just think that this team's going to come out firing on all cylinders because of the way they looked before their bye week, and that's Justin Herbert. They look like shit versus the Ravens before their bye week. They've had 10 days to think about it. They've had 10 days to prep for the Patriots. They're going to be at home at 7.3. I think Herbert will be okay. I'm a little bit worried about Eckler. If he doesn't play in this game, I downgrade Herbert a little bit. But I do still think that Herbert can pay off his 7.3 salary. All right, let's move down into the mid-tier. And I'm going to go to you first, Tim. Give me one of your mid-tier guys.
Yeah, you know what? I'm actually going to go with Matt Ryan. He's kind of on a borderline between a mid-tier and a value, but this is a guy that I really thought showed pretty well last week, and I'm going to play him again this week against Carolina. The Carolina defense has not been nearly as good as they've looked in the past, and I think that they match up really well against kind of how their defense schemes. So I like Ryan here, 5,900. Saves you a good amount of money over some of the other guys we've talked about, and I think he's got some really good stacking options this week. So if you want to pay up for some of the other guys we're going to talk about, you can save some money at quarterback. I think the safest option if you're going to pay down is Matt Ryan.
Yeah, I like Matt Ryan. I actually had him in my cash lineup last week, and I was happy about it until Derrick Henry let me down, and Cooper Kupp went ballistic, and I didn't have him in my lineup. But yeah, Ryan's been really good lately. All right, Gerson, let's go to you.
One thing I liked about Matt Ryan is that he's the Falcons are top 5 in the NFL in terms of pass rate in the red zone.
Yeah.
So obviously they're not running the ball for touchdowns. If they're scoring touchdowns, it's through the air. So
agreed.
I like
And
that.
He's got a great stack option that's gotten even cheaper that I think is going to finally pay off this week that we'll talk about later. All right, Gerson, give me one of your mid-tier.
I have Carson Wentz. I know not a sexy name in nowhere ever. Even on Halloween, nobody wants to dress up as Carson Wentz. Well, you can now. I mean, 2 broken legs. I mean, or something, injury related. But no, Carson Wentz. He coming in. His price was phenomenal. I think it's at 5,700. I think Tennessee's defense is still not good. I mean, I know they shut down Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, but I think that I watched that game. We legit watched that whole game. We had a friend over, and that Kansas City's offense just didn't look in sync at all. But I think
Mahomes ain't right.
What's that?
Mahomes ain't right now.
Yeah, he ain't right. I mean, his brother's doing TikTok videos behind him, and he don't even have a reaction, man. He must be depressed or something. But yeah, I mean, Carson Wentz. The biggest reason why I like him is because his stack is cheap, and bring it back with Tennessee offense with the AJ Brown. You can even do it with Derrick Henry because we've seen Derrick Henry. He's still if Tennessee scores, he's going to be the big reason why they do.
Yep.
But yeah, stack him with Pittman and then bring him back with Jeff's favorite guy, Cox.
Mo Alley Cox. So I want to talk about Mr. Joe Burrow. We saw, of course, what Mr. Jamar Chase did to the team last week. So Burrow this week is 7.1, going up against the Jets, who are 28th DVOA versus the pass. You can't get too much worse than that. The Jets are terrible. So Burrow at 7.1 is one of my mid-tier guys. And Jason, who's your cash game quarterback? I see you have Jalen Hurts listed there as a mid-tier. Is he your cash game quarterback this week?
Yep. Jalen Hurts is my cash game quarterback. I'm pretty sure I'll have him in there unless I can find a better roster with my cheap quarterback, but I highly doubt it. Jalen Hurts is a quarterback that you will not want to watch the first quarter, the second quarter, or the third quarter, but you will watch him in the fourth quarter because he's the king of garbage time.
Yes, he is.
So tune in the fourth quarter, and you will see your points go from 5 to 28. That's all that matters.
So. Yep. And Tim, you got one more guy in the mid-tier. Talk about him really quick, Mr. Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah, I just think he's a good player this week. I think last week he went kind of under-owned, and obviously you saw that A.J. Brown, went off, and I think they're in a very similar spot here. I know Tennessee is getting some of their corners back, but their corners are still terrible. A.J. Brown looks like he should be good to go. They still don't have Julio Jones, but I'm not worried about it. I think Ryan Tannehill should be good for a couple of touchdowns. He may even be able to run one in. He does have that ability, and I don't think he'll be nearly as owned as he should be at 6,600. So saves you 600 over a guy like Hurts, and I think he's got a pretty clear stacking option. So I like him on the other side of that wins game.
Yeah, I like him as well. And the Colts are 22 versus the pass. They're actually first versus the run, which I don't think hurts Derrick Henry per se, but I do think that they'll force him to pass a little bit more. I do like that Tannehill call. And I think he has 2 touchdowns in the last 2 games, rushing touchdowns in the last 2 games. So definitely has that upside to rush the ball in and get a touchdown as well. All right, let's move down into the value tier. And Gerson, I'll go to you first this time. Give me one of your value quarterbacks.
I can't believe I'm actually going to say this, but Taylor Heineke is a good value quarterback this week. It's just I think when Ryan Fitzpatrick comes back, I think the closer we get, the more he just wants to prove it. That he's the quarterback. Don't worry about starting him.
He played the best game of his life last week. I don't know if he's going to play better tonight.
Yeah. So I mean,
he's a Brett Favre fan, and he got to play in Lambeau. Like that was his Super Bowl.
Yeah.
It's all downhill from Hill.
Yeah, basically. I mean, but he played in Denver. I was really surprised when I did my research on Denver. This is a GPP play, by the way. Don't be playing this guy in cash. I'm telling you that right now. But Denver ranked 24th in DVOA versus pass. I mean, that was very shocking to me. Yep. But the $5,300 price and then the stack you can do with it. And Cortland Sutton has done pretty well on Denver this year. And they get Judy back, too. I think it's going to be a higher pace than usual. And I don't know if you guys keep in track, but Denver defense has more injuries than they have I think 10 linebackers are hurt or something like that.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Yep. But Taylor Heineke, I always get his name mixed up. 5,300, coming in at 2% ownership. So if I can get him at 2% and say he gets me 20 points, I'm happy with that.
Yeah, I like that. I like that call a lot. Jason, you have someone there. You mentioned him a little bit when you're talking about Jalen Hurts a little bit. Your cheap quarterback. Talk about Mr. Teddy B.
Yeah, Teddy Bridgewater. He's 5,400. He's really cheap, and the way I look at it is, as we know, Washington Redskins. Washington football team is no longer the same defense they were last year. They figured out how to control. What's his name? Chase Young. Yeah, they figured out how to control Young if they're running the play away from him. So it makes it harder for the defense to be good, and it makes it so the quarterback has time and everything. So with Teddy B, he's a game manager, but at 5,400, I just need him to get me 2 touchdowns and maybe 300 yards, and he can get that. So he's for 5,400, I'll take that. But if you go into 5,400, you better make sure that wherever you're paying up,
you hit it right,
or you using that salary.
Yep.
Right. You don't want to be going 5,400 and then you're going to punt at tight end as well, and you're going to go down to spoiler alert, Dan Arnold for 2,800. No, you better move up to a better tight end.
Yep, agreed 100%. You got to hit those other guys perfectly. Only guy I have in my list that we hadn't talked about yet is Trevor Lawrence going to Seattle, which I don't love going to Seattle. They always seem to play better at home, but that Seattle defense has been pretty bad lately. They're 25th versus the pass this year. I do think that Geno Smith will turn the ball over, even against that Jacksonville defense. So Geno playing quarterback gives the offense for the Jacksonville Jaguars a little bit of a boost as well. So at 5.5, I can't overlook Mr. T-Law. All right, let's move to the next.
Did somebody say tight ends?
All right, let's start off here with the top tier tight ends. First of all, none of the good tight ends, none of the high price tight ends are playing this week. No Waller, no Kelsey. They're not on the slate this week. Highest priced tight end is Kyle Pitts. And Tim, I'm gonna go to you first because you have him listed there as your top tier. Talk about Mr. Kyle Pitts.
I do. Kyle Pitts. Yeah, actually, Gerson has him labeled as #Pitcoin, and I like that because much like the Shiba coin, his stock is rising fast. He's been killing it, man. He looks like, we're going to talk about Calvin Ridley later, but it looks like he's eclipsed him as the number one in that offense. And as if anything, he gets an even better matchup than Calvin Ridley does this week against the Panthers, who have been really bad against covering tight ends. Obviously, they've given up a couple of huge games this year, and I think that it just sets up such a good spot. But my favorite thing is I don't think people are going to pay for him this week.
Yep.
I think the way this slate sets up, Gerson, I don't know what you have his ownership at, but the way the slate sets up, I think a lot of people are going to be paying down or in that mid-range at tight end. And so I think I mentioned earlier with Matt Ryan, I think you can get a Ryan Pitt stack much lower ownership than you probably should. So I love that stack this week.
I don't know about that, Sam. I mean, he's the highest owned tight end, right? Oh no, he's at 9%.
No. Okay, I don't think he'll be the highest owned.
So, like, to me, it's this: if I'm gonna that price tag is $6,300. That's pretty expensive still.
Yeah.
I mean, I know he's done phenomenal the last 2 weeks, but he's still a rookie tight end. You know, I mean, but the reason why I like Pitt is because and Calvin Ridley's back, so I mean,
he was back. He was back last week, and it didn't matter.
Well, I don't see any other tight end that has the ceiling that Kyle Pitt. Maybe Mike Gesicki and TJ Hawk, but Kyle Pitt is just this guy finally turned it on. But I see ownership being at 9%. I love it, but to me, it's like Bitcoin. He's very pricey.
Yeah,
and it's either going to pay off or it's not going to pay off at all, you know?
Yeah, it's definitely a risk for sure because he's had two monster games the last 2 weeks, or the last 2 games he played. He had a bye week in between there, but he's definitely been a monster. Just is that going to continue, or how's that going to look? So I had Hockenson in the top tier. I know he's technically probably a mid tier at 5,400, but against Philly, I think Hockenson. I think he's off the injury report for the first time in a few weeks. I know he's been playing, but he's been playing injured. He's finally off the report, so he's totally healthy at 5.4 against this Philly defense. That's pretty easy to beat. I do think that Hockenson is a pretty good play there. Let's move down into the mid tier, Tim, and give me one of your mid tier guys.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about. Let's go with Tyler Higby at 4.5K. Every week, it seems like this year we have targeted the Houston Texans with tight ends, and I don't think that's going to be any different this week. He's been getting consistent volume. He just hasn't been getting those red zone looks because they've all been going to Cooper Kupp. Well, this week I think they go to Tyler Higby. I think this could be your CJ Uzoma special from last week, where he could see maybe even 2 touchdowns. So he'll be popular at 4.5K, but I think another guy we're going to talk about is going to be even more popular, and I think he's got a higher ceiling than that guy personally. So
yeah, and I think
I'm going to have a lot of Higby this week.
I think that person you're talking about, I think Jason has as his only mid-tier tight end. So Jason, talk about Mr. Dallas Goedert.
Dallas Goedert. Dallas Goedert. I like him a lot. He's 4,700. He's playing Detroit. Detroit, well, they don't have a defense. They struggle against tight ends, and well, the Eagles they targeted him 5 times last week, right? He got 70 yards out of that, and he only got 3 receptions on that. 3 receptions for 70 yards. They're using him everywhere. He even got a 2-point conversion last week. I like him, and if for cash games, he's perfect. He's the perfect sweet spot of 4,700, and he can hit value. Remember, when we're talking cash games, you want them to hit about 2.5-3 times value of their salaries. So I can see him getting 13, 14 points and easily.
Yeah, I like that call. I think he will probably be one of the. Is he the highest owned tight end, Gerson?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably so.
Yeah, I figured he probably.
One stat I didn't mention on Higby is he plays on 100% of snaps.
Yeah, that definitely.
Not many tight ends you see play 100%, but he's in there.
All right, Gerson, you got.
Gotta be in there.
You got one guy we hadn't talked about yet in that mid tier, Mike Gesicki.
Yeah, but to answer your question, yes, he is the highest owned tight end, 13%.
I figured.
Yeah, Mike Gesicki. I've been a big notorious hater on this guy, but he's finally starting to turn my my mojo around for him. Like I like him a lot now. Like he's finally doing what he was supposed to do out of Penn State.
Mm-hmm.
This guy's gone 8 targets, 9 targets, 7 targets, 6 targets, 12 targets. I mean, he's getting targeted almost an average of like 8 targets. So that's what I want in my tight end. And he doesn't really line up as a tight end. He lined up either as a slot wide receiver or on the outside. They usually bring in those other 2 tight ends. I don't know. They have like 13 tight ends, I swear. But yeah, and that's the thing. He's 5,000. That price is phenomenal for what he's been producing lately. I mean, if you were to play him last 2 weeks, that's 4 times value each time. So I'm gonna have a lot of him. And the reason, one of the biggest reasons why I want a lot of him, obviously, is for the stack to bring it back with Mr. Josh Allen. I think that's going to be a big way that you're going to pair him. But we've seen Tua Tagovailoa. I mean, I think he kind of knows this game is going to be the deciding factor, maybe for that Ross owner, whatever his name is, saying, "Hey, is he the future, or do we need to go get Deshaun Watson?" Because the deadline in 4 days, I believe.
Yeah. So I have two guys we hadn't talked about yet that I want to mention just real quick so we can get through the tight ends. I got Hunter Henry. The Chargers are 30th DVOA versus the tight end position. Henry has now caught a touchdown in 4 straight games. He's getting the targets, he's getting the looks, and if Eckler is out, then I think Hunter Henry's value goes up a little bit more. He'll get more. I'm sorry, not Eckler. I forgot he's playing for. I saw verse the Chargers, and it clicked in my head that he's playing for the Chargers. It's kind of a revenge game for Hunter Henry here.
Revenge game.
Yeah, the revenge game narrative. And then I also have Noah Fant versus the Washington football team, just because the Washington football team is that bad. Anybody that wants to get right, that's the team to get right against. I called it last week with Tunyon. I told him he'd be getting right against the Washington football team, and he definitely did. Unfortunately, he tore his ACL last night, and his season's over. But he did get right on last week against the Washington football team. All right, let's move down into the cheap tier here, the value tier, and I'll go to you first this time, Gerson. Give me one of your value guys.
I'm not going to mention my value yet, but I'm going to mention. I want you guys to talk about the other two. But I want to talk about this Tommy Sweeney dude. Okay, guys, like he's coming in the second highest owned tight end right now in ownership, 13%,
Wow.
2,900. Okay, I get it, like cool, but he's not Knox. He's not Dawson Knox. It took Dawson Knox basically like 2 years to get acclimated to that offense and to actually become a thing. I know this guy came in and probably won a shitload of people with a lot of money on Showdown for that 1 touchdown catch.
Yeah,
but that's about the best game he's had in his career. Like, I mean,
and I think in that game, I think he had one yard, 1 catch, 1 touchdown. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was like 1, 1, and 1.
You know, like the 8 mile, 1 shot, 1. Yeah, you know, like.
Yes.
But no, I mean, just temper your expectation. You know, kind of look at it twice. You know, maybe try to. I'd rather go to the other guys you guys are talking about.
All right, Jason, we'll go to you. Give us you kind of gave us a spoiler earlier in the show. Talk about Dan Arnold at 2.8.
So Dan Arnold at 2.800. I like him for cash games as well. But it's not because I like him. It's because I'm reading everywhere and I'm listening to podcasts, and he's getting touted everywhere at his price range. So he could be a cash game play, but I'd rather go to the for sure targets and Dallas Goedert. Dan Arnold last week I think he got like a good got 2 receptions, but the week before that he was 8 for 6 on 8 targets, 6 receptions, 64 yards. He's been with the Jaguars for about 3 weeks now. And, well, I don't know if you guys know, but there's no DJ Chark. And Laviska Shenault, well, he's just a gadget player, in my opinion. And Marvin Jones Jr., he's the wide receiver there. But all rookie tight end, their favorite, what do you call that, their safety net?
Yep.
Is always a tight end.
Yeah, he had 5 targets last week.
Not tight ends.
Yeah, he had 5 targets last week, 8 targets the week before that. So definitely getting targeted in this offense as he gets more and more acclimated. So I agree. I like Dan Arnold as well. I had him on my list as my only value at 2.8. There is one guy that you have there, Tim. I didn't see him before. He wasn't quite in the value. He's in the mid tier. You're going back to your sick call this week. He's no longer a sick call. Now he's an actual call.
That's right. I'm sticking to the brand on this one. I'm going back to my call, CJ Uzoma. I think it's just another good spot for him. You know, if we're talking about playing Dan Arnold this week, I think you can find Mr. Who's Your Mama for an extra 900.
Yeah.
The Jets are not good against tight end. I think that they've shown in good matchups they'll target him. And sure, he had a couple of free plays last week, but that's all you're looking for from a tight end at this range. So I tell you, Dan Arnold's one thing, but if you're going to click Tommy Sweeney, you better find the money to get up to CJ Uzoma.
Yeah, it's a good call. All right, we're going to move on to running back. One guy we hadn't mentioned, we're just going to mention him real quick. Ricky Seals-Jones at 3,800. He's still playable at that price, I think. And I think
Playing all the snap.
Yeah, he's playing all the snaps, and that's what you want to see at your tight end. All right, let's get to the next.
It's time for running backs. Running backs.
All right, so let's see here. We got King Henry. Talk about yourself here, King Henry. You got King Henry in your top tier here.
Yeah, I mean, King Henry. Volume is king. That's what I always say. And he's going to get all the volume. The 8,900 is actually cheaper than, the last 2 weeks he's been now?
Yep.
I mean, but I'm kind of hoping that his ownership stays lower than what it's been like the last 2 weeks, because it's coming up at 20%, but I don't think it's going to be 20%, to be honest. I think it's going to be like 16 to 15, because people are going to remember last week and they're going to be dreaded on it. I'm not one of those people. I just go back and play the best plays. And Derrick Henry, 30th DVOA against the Houston Texans. They're gonna go up. I mean, not the Houston Texans. Sorry, I looked at the wrong.
The Colts. They're playing the Colts.
13th DVOA against the defense, but to me, Derrick Henry, you've had great games against them before. So to me, it doesn't really make me worry. Last year against that same defense, he had a 41-point game, 178 yards and 3 touchdowns. And then, I mean, he's had it before, and then in week 13 in 2019, he had a 27-point game. So the ceiling's there. I mean, the floor was one bad week, week 10 in 2020, and he had 14 points.
Yep.
But we're looking for ceiling game. And like I said, I think you're probably not going to be playing Josh Allen. If you're playing Derrick Henry and Josh Allen, I hope you find a way to not do that, because that's too much money in two positions.
Yeah, I think people are disappointed of Derrick Henry last week, but I mean, he still had he had 29 carries, he had 2 catches. I mean, that's 31 touches. That's ridiculous. I mean, you give him the ball that much, and good things are going to happen more often than not.
Bro, he had a passing touchdown. What more do people want?
Yeah, he's doing everything.
When he got that passing touchdown, I'm like, he's gonna get 50 points.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's all he did after that. Unfortunately, but yeah, definitely.
More passing touchdown than Patrick Mahomes, guys.
Yeah, that's a good stat, because you're right. He didn't have any touchdowns that game. All right, let's look at. We got some more top tier guys here. Tim, give me one of your top tiers.
Yeah, I put back to Hendo, a.k.a. Daryl Henderson. Last week, he let us down. He let a lot of people down last week, and that's my favorite thing to do, is play a guy after he's let people down, because there are going to be people who are like, oh, I don't know if I can click him again this week. And like Urson just mentioned, a 30th DVOA against the run. You run the ball against the Texans. It's what you do. They're averaging 4.5 yards per carry. I mean, he is absolutely going to kill it in this spot. And like I said, at 6,500, his price dropped a little bit. He's just in a perfect spot, in my opinion. Definitely one of my favorite plays, both for cash and GPP.
Yeah, I definitely like Henderson as well. He's also on my list in the mid tier there. Gerson, you got one more guy on your list, and I think, Jason, you have him as well. But Deandre Swift, and he's been sort of a junk time monster as well. I don't know which one of y'all want to talk about Deandre Swift.
The battle of junk time.
You want me or Jason? Who do you say?
We'll go with Jason. He hasn't talked in a while.
Fucker, fuck you. Somehow Tim just managed to have 2 costumes in one. All of a sudden he's a Jedi now.
Yeah.
So
He's
that's
Star
crazy.
Wars.
Let's go back to Deandre Swift here. Deandre Swift, I like to call him CMC 2.0. He can catch, he can receive. Last week he had 13 rushing yards for 48 yards, but what improved me is he had 8 receptions for 96. And if you just look at all his, if you go back every week, right? 8 receptions, 5 receptions, 6 receptions, 4, 7. He's getting receptions, and if I like anything in my running back is that he gets receptions and he can run the ball. The one thing is though, the Lions can't run the ball because they're always behind.
Yeah. And Jeff knows I love Swifty.
Yeah.
So
and Tim, you just got the best nickname in the chat. You're now called the Tim Reaper.
Nice.
Oh yeah. And I like him at that price range, even at 7,100. Even though he went up, I think 1,100 points, $1,100. So I like him at that price range, even at 7,100. I'll still pay up for that. And to be honest, he's a lot cheaper than all the other running backs above him, so I'll take him.
Yeah, I like that. I like that call a lot. I have Swift in my list as well. We'll move down into the mid tier because I only had one guy in my top tier, and that was Derrick Henry. I had Swift in the mid tier. Let's move down to the mid tier. Tim, we'll go to you first. Give me one of your mid tier guys.
Yeah, I'm going to go with James Robinson. I think this is a good spot for him. going on the road against Seattle, but Seattle's defense has just been terrible this year. We talked about rookie quarterbacks on the road tend to lean on the running game, and he's getting all the usage now, man, which is what we wanted. I think he's going to get a number of checkdowns in this spot. He's not getting as many targets as he was earlier in the season, but I still think he's, got 4 targets or so, plus say 13, 14 runs. You're looking at 18 touches, and I think against Seattle, that's more than enough to get it done. So I think he's a really good spot. I like him a lot, but I'm mostly going to be heavy on Swift and Henderson.
Yeah. What about you, Gerson? Who do you got in your mid tier?
I'm gonna go back to the what I was beating last week. Damon Harris. I mean, this guy is probably, if Ramondre Stevenson's out, like, you pretty much just want to look at him pretty heavily, because that's what he was sharing his workload. But to me, Damon Harris, if they're in a good game environment, like, when I say good game environment, like the winning situation is favorable for him. But I think with the workload he got last week, 14 for 106 and 2 touchdowns, everybody's gonna want to play him. I'm still gonna play him because he's 6,100. I think, to me, the Chargers, I don't know like what happened to their defense, but they ranked dead last, 32nd in DVOA versus the run. So versus running back. So that was like kind of a shocker to me, because I thought they were actually a pretty good defense, but they're really not. 6,100, and we know Bill Belichick, he's gonna scheme to beat you the way he can. He's not gonna go, we're gonna have Mac Jones throw the ball 30 times. No, they're gonna run the ball and run the ball and run the ball. So Damon Harris should have a big game against this guy. Not a big game, sorry, I can't say that with Damon Harris. It's a hit and miss. That's what I hate the most about him.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah, he's very game script dependent. We saw that last week, obviously paid out for him. But I just made a note here. We talked about it earlier. Austin Eckler may sit this week. I think if Austin Eckler sits, it's actually a huge boost to Damian Harris, because it's much more likely that they're going to stay in the game in a game script that would be favorable for him.
Yeah, agreed. Just real quick, I got a message. Go ahead.
4% owned too, so that's GPP straight up.
GPP play. Yeah, good call. I just got a message on Twitter that the comments are not coming through on Twitter. I did mean to tell at the opening of the show that when Periscope closed down and they went to the Twitter Live is what they're calling it, the comments will not come through, unfortunately. So if you're on Twitter and you want to talk to us, go jump on YouTube. Go find us on YouTube or on Facebook or Twitch. Until they get that fixed, I can't see the Twitter comments. So I apologize for that. If you want to get into the chat, get off Twitter and go find us on YouTube.
We love you!
All right, in the mid-tier, I had a couple of guys you had. I do have Joe Mixon at 6.9 versus the Jets. We know the Jets are pretty much terrible. Mixon had been getting a very large workload. He didn't get one last week only because Jamar Chase was just dominating so much that they just didn't run the ball as much as they needed to. But I do think they go back to the well with Mixon at 6.9 versus the Jets. Jason, I'm going to go to you here. Give me some of your cash game plays this week for running backs.
Let's see here. So we talked about Swift. We talked about James Robinson, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So at the mid-tier, how do I say this? We pretty much talked about all the players, Swift, Henderson, James Robinson. Joe Mixon, actually, Jeff, you were talking about him. Isn't Chris Evans out this week?
Chris Evans is out, yes.
Yes, so with him being out, I can see Mixon definitely getting a bigger workload, like you were talking. And that's good for him because, just like you were saying, the game script there. And I actually see him more as a cash game play now as well.
Yeah, it was kind of weird last week. I'm sorry, it was kind of weird last week because he had a game against Detroit where he had 5 receptions on 6 targets, and he didn't get a single target last week because Jamar Chase was just balling out. I think they go back to...
Samaje Perine got like a goal line touchdown, right? Or Chris
He
Evans?
did, yeah.
Yeah.
So one of them. So like if he would have gotten that touchdown, he would have gotten you like 18 points. You know, so you would have been going back to him.
But to be honest, this week in cash games with the mid tiers, I think what you'll be doing at running back is here's what you'll be doing. You're gonna either pay up for Henry or you're gonna go mid tier and then you're gonna go value, and then just kind of spread it out throughout there. I don't think you want to go like Henry and then pay up for Henderson and then Swift, because that's a lot of money you're allocating to running backs.
Yep.
And I do believe that the value players that we're going to talk about later, those are solid enough running backs to get you 15, 20 points.
Agreed. All right, a couple guys I had in my mid tier. I'm just going to mention besides the ones we already talked about. I did have Chuba Hubbard at 6K versus Atlanta. I do think that Atlanta's defense is just bad enough that I think Hubbard can kind of bounce back from a game he had last week that wasn't very good. Let's move down into the value tier, Tim, and I'll go to you first.
Yeah, I just kind of want to talk about it as in general real quick because a lot of slates this year, we have not had one 5K running back that we felt really good about. And I think there are 3 5K running backs that are legitimately in play this week, which is really interesting in terms of lineup construction, like Jason just mentioned. If you want to play, pay up for Josh Allen, pay up at wide receiver, I think there are some legitimate running back options this week to allow you to do that. And so I'm going to talk about your boy, Jeff, Elijah Mitchell. This dude has just really taken over the backfield for your 49ers. And this week, I think he gets a really strong really strong matchup against the Chicago Bears, which have allowed you to run on them a little bit this year. San Francisco is top 5 in terms of adjusted line yards this week. I think that they're favored. I think the game script is going to favor him. And we saw him obviously have an excellent game last week, but more so than the production was just the volume. And I think that volume is going to continue in this week. At 5,400, I think he's just too cheap. I'm going to have him in a ton of my lineups.
Yeah, I like that call a lot. I like Mitchell. He was one of my preseason favorites. I was telling everybody to draft him. I was telling everybody that you always buy the cheapest running back for the 49ers. Whoever that cheap running back may be, you always go with him because he tends to be the one that ends up being the good one. And Mitchell's been really good. All right, let's go to you, Gershon. Who you got in your value tier here?
Man, I can't wait till I go try out for the 49ers. Buy me, guys. Buy me. I have Kenneth Gainwell. I mean, he's going to be the uber chalk of the week. Again, temporary expectation because I've seen these situations before. I remember last year, I think it was week 1, Boston Scott was the king. He was going to be the cash game play. I think it was last year. I can't remember what year it was.
Last year.
But he was so cheap, and it fucked us so bad. Like, it was bad. But Kenneth Gainwell, to me, the reason why I like Kenneth Gainwell a lot because it's more because of the type of running back he is. He's a pass-catching running back. And I think in this game, they're going to have to keep up pace, both ways. I don't know which way this game's going to go because both defense are not that good. Eagles defense is a little bit better, but to me, Kenneth Gainwell should be in there. Boston Scott does worry me a little bit, but at 5,000 for Gainwell on Draftkings, I think I'm going to have a lot of exposure to him because PPR is keen there.
Yep.
And we've seen this guy actually already have some pretty good games this season.
Yep.
In week 4, he had 20-point game, and he only got 3 for 31, but then he got 8 receptions, 6 for 68. So he is a pass-catching running back. Last week, he did the same thing. He got 8 targets, 4 receptions, 41 yards, and a touchdown. So with no Miles Sanders there. And it's kind of sad to say this, but some people even said in Dynasty that maybe Kenneth Gainwell is a better running back than Miles Sanders. I'm still not there yet until I see that Miles Sanders actually get a proper amount of workload. But we'll see. Maybe this is the Kenneth Gainwell season.
Yeah, and that touchdown that he had actually came with Miles Sanders still playing too. So I do think that he has that upside, to score those touchdowns. So yeah, I do like Gainwell as well, especially for that price point. All right, let's go to you, Jason. You got one more guy on your list that we hadn't talked about yet. On the opposite side of Elijah Mitchell, you got Mr. Herbert at 54.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys noticed, but Khalil Herbert has become a thing in the last couple of weeks.
Jeff has.
Yep.
Fucking jerked off to him every week.
Yeah, he's another one that I was on. I love Khalil Herbert coming into the season as well. I hit on Mitchell and Herbert in Dynasty.
Khalil Herbert comes from Virginia Tech, right? He's he's kind of like a scat back, but he's actually really shifty, and he's really strong. But his skill is that he can move around and he can make defenders miss him. So I don't know if you guys have been watching, but in the last few weeks they've been using him, and they've given him 18 attempts, 19 attempts. They're not afraid to use him, and they will give him the workload. And D. Williams is no longer a thing there. He's not really getting much work. Last week he didn't do that very much. The week before that he had COVID, unfortunately. But Herbert has shown that he has the workload, and they're even talking about possibly using him when Montgomery comes back. So to me, the Bears will use him, and he can catch too, so it's not like he's going to get game scripted out. I like him. The Bears will use him, and unfortunately, the San Francisco defense, it's not like the worst, but it's not even the best.
Yeah, we're injured. We just lost Kinlaw for the year. We've got tons of injuries there. So yeah, our defense is not very good.
I think is the same thing, different year.
Yep,
Jeff.
Yep, definitely.
I wanted to point out that Khalil Herbert, he's the first running back against Tampa Bay that got 100 yards in almost like 2 years.
Yep.
I mean, that defense is amazing. Like, we know right away in DFS, who's playing Tampa Bay at the running back? Nope, we're not playing them. But he got 100 yards on them, so that's impressive.
Yep, and it wasn't.
I had 90% exposure to him last week.
Nice. Yeah, it wasn't even like one long run. It was like he was just getting chunk yardage.
Oh yeah,
5.6 yards per carry.
I mean, he's solid. Like, you watch him, you have to watch. Like, people, like, I know a lot of us just watch Red Zone. A lot of us just, do this. But if you take your time, like, sometimes what I like to do is I like to go to YouTube and I like to watch the condensed games. And if you really watch, you can see that he runs hard.
Yep.
And he's not afraid. I mean, he's going to run hard and he'll get the extra. He always falls forward. He never falls backward. So I like me a running back like that at 4,600. I'll take that. And he is a cash game play for me. But I'd rather play him than Kenneth Gainwell, in my opinion, if I'm going to go pay down.
Yeah.
With Kenneth Gainwell, Boston Scott's there, and I don't like that.
Yeah, just to go on your point,
I like that they increased his passing game use last week. He got 5 receptions.
Yep.
So if he's going to get pass game work too, man, that's just such a cheap price.
Yep, good call. Yeah, and Damian Williams only had 3 carries last week. 3 carries for 5 yards, so he's no longer a thing. So you can just not even worry about him anymore. 2 guys I had on my list we hadn't talked about yet. Javonte Williams at 5.3 versus Washington. Once again, Washington is just that bad. And Williams had a really good game last week, scored a touchdown finally. I do think he's finally slowly taking over for Melvin Gordon. They have to give him the workload eventually. I mean, he's way more excited than Melvin Gordon. Melvin Gordon's the boringest running back in the league right now. Williams looks exciting, so give me Williams at 5.3. And this one's a little bit iffy. I almost made this one my sit call. This one is Mr. Demetric Felton, who we played a little bit last week when Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb were both out. Well, Nick Chubb is back, but Kareem Hunt is still out. So I think Felton fills that pass game role. I know he filled it in last week and didn't do a whole lot, but Baker Mayfield's expected to be back this week. I think that improves him a little bit. So Felton at 4.5 is a sneaky play. Like I said, almost my sit call, but at 4.5 I thought he might be too expensive to be a sit call. So Felton, if you want to get risky, play him at 4.5.
It's pretty sick.
It is pretty sick, yeah. I wouldn't have a lot of exposure to him, but I do have. I've been the RB whisperer this year for some reason. Usually I'm the receiver whisperer, but I mean I hit on Khalil Herbert, I hit on Chris Evans. Last week was Dante Pettis, but I just have a feeling.
I hit on Derrick Henry every week. So
Going out on a limb on that one.
Yeah, good job telling me to play Derrick Henry last week, G. Thanks, appreciate it.
Hey, you hit and miss sometimes, Yep.
All right,
win them all.
Let's get to the receivers.
And now, wide receivers.
As usual, we got about 97 receivers to talk about. We probably can't get to all of them. So the first one we have on all of our lists, we're just going to mention him. Cooper Kupp, play him every week. He's the Derrick Henry of receivers right now. You can't avoid him, even at 9K. I think he's a great play. But Gerson, you got a couple more guys in your list there. Go ahead and talk about one of your top tier guys.
Mr. Jamar Chase, I mean, all right, I can't see the laces on the ball. They're different. Preseason mattered. All that bullshit, This guy is just legit, like, if you watch Red Zone and you see Jamar Chase, I don't know if you guys saw how he fucking made Marlon Humphrey eat shit. Like,
oh, yeah.
He, like, stutter step, and Tim knows it kind of. It's like what do you call this, Tim? In and out, like a bait switch or whatever. But he's
I call it a whip route.
Yeah, and then he did a spin move on like 3 defenders and freaking took it to that house, dude. That is impressive. But Chase, to me, this guy, he ain't playing like a rookie wide receiver. He's playing like basically like, hey, I'm here. You're gonna need to stop me, like Justin Jefferson last year, but probably better, That's
what I was going to say. People were like, oh, who's going to be this year's Justin Jefferson? And then people were, oh, that season could never be replicated. That was a 1 in a million. It's never going to happen again.
It happened the very next year.
Jamar Chase is like, let me just go ahead and show you what's up.
He's like, hold my beer.
Yeah. Now, we knew he had the strength, right? We knew he had the speed, but his route running skills are ahead of where I think anybody knew that they were. But one guy that's also on all 3 of our lists this week We talked about him at the start of the show. One of my favorite plays this week. Got to match him up with his number one pass catcher, Mr. Stephon Diggs, this week against Miami. And one thing I saw here is that, Miami paid keep Xavier Howard. Miami paid to go get Byron Jones. And these guys are not performing at the level that they expected of them. I mean, it used to be you couldn't throw the ball at Miami, and now they're, bottom 3, bottom 5 in every passing category. So, I mean, it's just terrible how bad they played, and I think that Diggs is just going to absolutely feast this week. So, I love Kupp. He's a great play every week, but, Diggs, man, this is his week.
Yeah, Diggs is definitely a good pivot, I think, and he had a pretty good week last week, too. So, go ahead, Gerson.
So, I know we're a DraftKings show, but on FanDuel, his price is ridiculous. I think it's 71 or 7,300, one of the two. But his price is ridiculous on FanDuel. That's almost basically
a lock.
Yeah,
that's a lock.
So I mean, he should be the highest owned player on as a wide receiver. So go ahead and just smash him into your lineup, cash game with GPP, because he could have a big game. Something that's so cheap. And on FanDuel, I mean, I know I'm talking shit about them, but their price is softer than a fucking
that's the thing.
Soft as hell. Softer than butter, man.
That's FanDuel's angle is they do the soft pricing so they can get those the newbies in there.
The casuals.
Yep, exactly what it is. All right, let's move down into the mid tier, and I'll go to you. Actually, I'm gonna go to you, Jason. You got one guy in your mid tier. Talk about the one guy you have there.
Yeah, AJ Brown. He took me to the promised land in my cash games last week.
Nice.
And to be honest, the only reason he did is because I didn't know who else to play in that price range, and I was like, screw it, I'll just play him. He's playing the highest scoring game of the week, and he's playing the Kansas City Chiefs. I was a little worried because he kind of, he'd been hobbled, but he came through for me for 30 points, eight receptions, 133 yards. I don't see any reason why he can't do that this week. He's a solid wide receiver, and Julio's out this week, so that gives him more receptions his way, more targets, and as well, he looks a lot healthier now. So if we can get AJ Brown of last year, or actually the year before last year, because he was injury prone last year, and then we got a good catch game player right there at 6,900. That's still pretty cheap.
Yeah, I like that call. Gerson, who do you have in your mid tier?
To me, it's I love this guy, and everybody knows I always talk to him about him when I see him. I have the chance to. It's Deontay Johnson. Judy's out. I'm seeing this is the Deontay show now, man. I don't care about Chase Claypool. Apparently, this guy, I swear to God, Chase Claypool, he just relies on his athleticism to make plays.
Mm-hmm. And Big Ben can't give him the ball anymore.
What was that?
Big Ben can't give him the football anymore. His noodle arm can't throw that far.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not only that, I mean, the guy doesn't really run good route or makes football adjustments, But Deontay Johnson does that. He is like Antonio Brown light. But 13 targets last week. That's freaking crazy. 13 targets. But what's crazier is that I went and looked see how he done against Cleveland, right? Because they're rivalry. But last year he got 16 targets. 16 targets. This was this week 18, so I'm guessing this was a playoff game.
Mm-hmm.
16 targets, 11 receptions, 117 yards. I mean, and I don't see this going any different this game script because that defense of the Pittsburgh Steelers has been underwhelming, and the Cleveland Browns defense is pretty good, but they're still gonna have to shoot out, and they're gonna have to. I think Cleveland's better than Pittsburgh, so they're gonna be passing the ball a lot more.
All right.
Yeah, with him, you can guarantee a few things: is targets, and also him coming outside injured for one play, and then coming back in. So we're good there, guys.
Yep. All right, Sim, what you got for your mid tier?
All right, guys, lean in close here. I'm going to tell you my favorite play of the whole week. DK Metcalf. You're thinking, Tim,
you got
Geno Smith throwing him the ball, right? Doesn't matter. He's playing Jacksonville Jaguars this week. He is going to absolutely beast on this team. You're talking about Jamar Chase last week. If you're looking at the scoreboard on Sunday and you're like, oh, man, I can't believe this guy had 8 for 200 and 2 touchdowns. This week, that guy is DK Metcalf. He almost paid off last week in basically one play against New Orleans, which is actually a good defense. Jacksonville is a terrible defense, worst against the pass. They don't have any pass rush. Geno Smith is going to be able to have time to get the ball downfield to DK. We see that he's got a much better chemistry with DK than he does with Tyler Lockett. I think that's going to carry over to this week. You're going to see a couple of those long bombs. I don't ever want to guarantee 2 touchdowns, but I think this is DK smash week.
I like it.
Literally smash. He almost had to force him.
Yeah, guys.
Yeah, he is. He's going to carry that right over into the game, man.
Good stuff. All right, so I got 2 guys that I want to talk about really quick. Both of them are target monsters. One of them hasn't done well for you this year so far, but I do think he finally bounces back. Mr. Calvin Ridley at 6.6. I mean, this is his targets from the last couple of weeks. 10 targets, 13 targets, 11 targets, 10 targets. He's going to have a big game here eventually. It's going to happen. I think maybe it's this week. So I love Calvin Ridley. And then also one of my favorite plays is Mr. Keenan Allen at 6.5. You know, he's also a target monster. Unfortunately, he only has 1 touchdown this year. I think that gets fixed this week as well. I think 10 days is a long time for Herbert. And I think Allen's been in his ear like, hey, I only got 1 touchdown, man. Give me a touchdown. So I think Allen scores this week at 6.5. All right, let's move down into the value tier. And Tim, you got a guy that's was in my mid tier, but he's in your value tier. Talk about Mr. MJJ.
Yeah, I think Marvin Jones is right kind of on the edge there, but I have him as a value because I think he's still too cheap for somebody that got 10 targets last week. I mean, this guy is a guy earlier in this season I was playing because he was getting a ton of targets, then his volume kind of dropped a little bit, and now it's back again right in time for a great matchup against Seattle. I just talked about DK. Obviously, this is a game I'm very interested in. I think it could end up being higher scoring than a lot of people think, and I think that those two make a great secondary stack if you want to put them in with one of your other stacks. So I don't think very many people will be on them, especially as a combination. So that gives you some great leverage in tournaments.
Good stuff. All right, Jason, you got a few guys highlighted there. I'm assuming that means some of them are cash game plays. Talk about one of your favorite cash game guys here.
My favorite cash game play out of all. Where you going, bro? Our brother controls the computer while we're looking at our notes here, and he just goes off to a random screen. In the mid tier, we're talking mid tier, right?
The value tier.
Value.
Oh, value. My value is Jerry Judy. He's 4,900. Jerry Judy in the first week, if you guys remember, before he sprained his ankle, he had literally, I think he had 7 receptions and
half a game.
7 targets, 6 receptions, and 72 yards.
Yep.
And I think he was like towards the end of the third quarter. Then he sprained his ankle pretty bad. He's coming back. He's been ready to come back since last week, but they didn't want to push it, so they just pushed it off so he could rest for another 10 days.
Pussy.
Oh, jeez, dude, it was pretty bad ankle sprain. But yeah,
I would have came back
at 4,900. At 4,900.
It took me like 2 months to come back from a sprained ankle, guys.
He fell off a roof. My brother fell. No, true story. He fell off the roof and he sprained his ankle. Took him like 2.5 months. Well, anyway, back on point. Jerry Judy, 4,900. He is a target monster when he's there. I believe Tim Patrick will get. He'll be out of the picture. It'll be him and Sutton and Fant. And like we said, Teddy Bridgewater is the cash game quarterback for a reason, but I can also see GPP upside here. And as the targets get there at 4,900, all you need him to get is like 12 points. That's not a lot, and he can get that in the first quarter.
Yeah.
And yes, I was drunk when I fell off the roof, guy.
And one thing about Judy, too, that might lower his ownership a little bit for those that are casuals, it still says IR next to his name. I don't know when they're going to take that off. But if it continues to stay IR into Sunday, then he'll definitely be a lower owned player because no one's going to play him thinking that
he's coming in at 2% ownership. That's what's crazy to me.
Yeah,
there we go.
I thought honestly, he was going to be like heavily like owned, but I think the reason why people are hesitant to play him is like you're saying, is everybody sees that IR spot and then it's like, oh, he's coming back from injury, but they're not going to play him unless he's fully recovered. They had been holding him out for a week and a half now. So
Yep, 100% agree. Gerson, you got a shit ton of guys in your values here. Give me one of your favorite value guys.
With the Michael Pittman, man. Hell yeah, man. Like I love this guy coming out of USD. Last year he was kind of slow on the scene, but I remember I was excited when he actually did really good last year. I think it was against the Tennessee Titans. He got like 8 receptions, like 100 yards or something like that. But he's doing it better this year. He's gotten almost every game he met value except for last week 6, against magically the Houston Texans. But I mean, we're seeing it, and I don't know if you guys watched the game, but it was a game where I think it was Baltimore, I believe. He mocked the player. He like caught it over his head and then ran it for a touchdown. We call it moss, guys. Come on.
He got moss.
Yeah, he coming in really heavy ownership though, like 22%. The value is insane, 5,300. This defense ranks 31st in DVOA versus wide receivers. Tennessee is gonna be scoring, and this is why I said like Carson Wentz, Michael Pittman, and then Jeff Boycock. Yeah, so I mean, I love Michael Pittman this week. I'm gonna have a lot of exposure to him. He's probably gonna be my highest ownership on wide receiver.
Yeah, the crazy thing with Pittman tonight, because I have him on my list too, is he went four targets, 4 receptions, 105 yards, and a touchdown last week, and his price went down $100. Like, I don't know how they justified that one. So, yeah, I do like Pittman a lot. Another guy I had in my value tier. So at 5,200 versus the Jets, if I told you can get a player that had 15 targets last week, would you do it? Of course you would. Higgins last week had 15 targets. Though he was overshadowed by Jamar Chase in his monster game, but 15 targets at 5,200 versus a terrible Jets defense. Give me that all day long. So I'll take T. Higgins as a pivot off of Jamar Chase, the higher owned Jamar Chase. Let's see who else we got. We got Tim. You got a couple more guys there. Talk about one of your other value guys.
Yeah, he's 5,500. So again, he's kind of on the edge of mid tier in value, but he's one of my favorite plays this week, and that's Devonta Smith going up against the Detroit Lions. Mr. Slim Reaper himself has been kind of up and down in terms of his volume, but the last 4 weeks, he's seen 10, 9, 4, 9 targets. Last week, he kind of got sniped by Rager at the end for a touchdown, but I think he's a great matchup this week against the Lions. I think this is kind of one of those games where I think he could easily break out. We know the Lions give up a lot of long touchdowns, and I think this could be a good spot for him. So I think he's a great play at 5,500. We talked about Jalen Hurts is going to be very popular. If you don't want to go with Dallas Goedert, I think you can go with Devonta Smith.
All right, let's just mention real quick some of the other guys we had on our list. You also had Manny Sanders there, of course. You know, an alternative stack to going with Diggs with Josh Allen.
Right.
Gerson, you got Chris Godwin. What's his price tag? Is he in that value range? I didn't really look at Chris Godwin. What's his price tag on
He's 6,400.
He's 6,400, but the reason why I put him there is because Antonio Brown's going to be out again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a good value right there for me. 6,400 against New Orleans. And I think Mike Evans is going to draw that Marshall and Lattimore.
Yep.
Like,
I was going to say
these
that.
These guys have, like, serious beef. Like, if they went to a bar, they're going to fucking beat each other up.
And unfortunately, I think Lattimore's won most of those battles. I mean, I know Evans has had some decent numbers, but for the most part, Lattimore wins those matchups. So Chris Godwin's an excellent play there. I agree. And I had one dart throw in there that I threw out, Mr. Khalif Raymond at 5.3 versus Philly. I do think that he's a home run hitter. He can pay off his salary in one hit. But so if you're looking to pivot off somebody off there, I think 5.3 for Khalif Raymond is pretty decent. That's it, right? I named all the guys we had there. I don't want to make sure we didn't miss anybody.
We're good.
I got it.
Good.
All right,
I
good
think
stuff.
we're good. If you can't make a good wide receiver decisions from all that, you're just stop playing.
Yeah, just stop playing.
No, keep playing.
Defense.
All right, Tim, we always go to you first for the defenses. So talk about these defenses you got here.
Yeah, I really only have 2 defenses this week because I think you're either paying up or paying down. I think the Bills are underpriced this week at 3,300. I think that they will. I think that they have a very high upside at that price. Tua doesn't really turn the ball over, but they get a ton of pressure. So I think that they could get a number of sacks here. If they get obviously a turnover or 2, they smash value at 3,300. So I think that they're a great defense if you want to pay up. But I think most people are paying all the way down to the Washington football team at 2,100. Value is really tough to come by. They have a good defensive line. They should get a good amount of pressure on Teddy Bridgewater and more than pay off. So I think you're good to pay all the way down this week and still see positive value out of the football team.
Yeah, I like the football team pretty. They're on my list as well. And this is the difference between fantasy and in real life defense. We know the Washington football team's a terrible defense in real life, but if you look at their point totals for fantasy, they had 7 last week, 8 the week before, 5, 6. So even when they're getting beat, they're putting up some decent fantasy points. And at that price tag, you definitely can't overlook it going against Denver. So I'm on the Washington football team as well. Gerson, you got a team there that we haven't talked about as a defense. Actually, you have two. Give me one of those two teams you want to talk about.
The Bills defense. I keep seeing this. It's been 3 weeks in a row now. You gotta talk about the Bengals defense. Someone talking about the Bills defense?
That was me.
Tim just talked about the Bills defense.
I'm just kidding. Okay.
Appreciate you, Jason.
Are you kidding? Are you really kidding?
No, I'm not. The Bengals
Got to
defense.
experience it live.
When I look at defense, I always think turnover. Always, no matter what. Turnover. And Mike White ain't good, guys. This guy, I mean, I thought it was Jeff could go out there and play quarterback this week, but
Hey.
no, the Bengals defense, they are 3,600. Nobody's gonna want to play that, but for GPP, for me, I'm gonna play that.
Yeah.
Because Mike White, I mean, this guy came in last week and threw 2 interceptions, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, why not just do the same thing? Just play the Bengals defense and hope for interception. And it just suck, dude. Like, if it weren't for the Lions being 0-7?
0-7. Yep.
It's so fucking crazy that they beat Tennessee and then Tennessee goes out and beat the Bills and the Chiefs.
Yeah,
that's the NFL for you. Any
given
Sunday.
Sunday. Yep.
But I think I'm gonna go right to the Bengals, Bills, and Washington football team, and then the Eagles, and that's it.
I love that call, man. The more I look at them, I think the Bengals should be an absolute smash pad.
Yeah,
great call.
They've been a great defense this year too. I mean, if you look across the board on the stats as well, I mean DVOA. Because last week me and Ryan were talking about him, and he kind of assumed that the Bengals were bad, and I was like, I don't know, Brian. They've been playing really good this year, and they went out and smashed his Ravens. So I can't wait to see him on Wednesday to talk about that.
Yeah.
All right, Jason, you have one more team in there we hadn't talked about yet, the Detroit Lions at 2,300. Is it just the price tag that you like on them?
Yeah, just the price tag. Jalen Hurts is prone to turn over the ball here and there, and sometimes he only gets you 100 yards throwing, so you don't have to worry about that. 2,300. I mean, when it comes to cash games, I don't really like to spend up on defense. Every week I just pay down. Last week was the Giants. The weeks before that was I don't even remember, but I just know I like to pay down. I never like to pay up. Also, I'll give you guys one little tip. This is not cash game related. This is more of like roster building. But if you play the Rams defense at 5,100, you better go slap yourself, because you can go play Jerry Judy, you can play T. Higgins for that same price, and they can get you 30 points. The Rams defense is not getting you 30 points.
Agreed.
So don't play that defense at 5,100. Play a cheap defense for cash games. I think I'll probably have the Seahawks defense still. I like the Seahawks defense. They're playing Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence is going to Seattle. That 12th man whole building thing. They're pretty wild in Seattle. So I mean, they still have a decent defense, but that defense is they like to get turnovers. They give up points and yards, but they like to get turnovers. And you guys know, you've seen it. So I like them at 2,800. But it's either going to be Seattle or I'm just going to pay all the way down to the Lions.
Yeah, I like it. All right, let's get to our stacks.
Goingfor2.com's weekly stack report.
Jason, you're the special guest this week, so we're going to go get your stack first.
Yeah, man, I'm going to go Brady, Evans, Godwin, naked. I'm not going to bring it back or anything. I'm just going to go with those three guys, and then that's it. I'm good.
If nobody knew fantasy football and you said that to anybody, that would sound so weird.
Yeah. You want three men naked, absolutely.
Yeah.
Brady,
I will say something on that real quick, though, because we didn't talk about that earlier in the show. I think it has been more viable this season to not have a bring-back candidate than ever before.
Yep.
So if you're thinking this game is going to go really hard one way or the other, you do not have to force in a bring-back.
Yeah,
it
and
is very viable.
This week in particular, I had a hard time finding a bring-back stack. I mean, this week you got some pretty lopsided games here with some really good teams playing some really bad teams, and there's just no one to bring back. Yeah, definitely.
I think the Miller Maker this year had the most non-bring-back winner.
Yep.
So that's crazy.
Also, we got to think about it now. We're having these running backs, right, that they can catch the ball. So last week, one of the best bringbacks was with DeAndre Swift and Cooper Kupp, Matthew Stafford, and whatever. I think it was like Woods or something. So we got to think about it that way. If we do bring it back, you might want to. You can include a running back in there. Just make sure it's the pass catching back, and it makes sense to the game script.
Agreed.
Yeah, well, thanks for setting me up there, Jason, because I am going with Jalen Hurts shutting up the haters this week in Philadelphia against Detroit, stacking in with Devonta Smith and bringing it back with Mr. DeAndre Swift, who's going to get all that garbage time and go for another week.
Good shit. In good transition there, Tim. You're a professional, man. I love it. Gerson's getting blown up. Gerson, you're getting your booty calls already, man. Come on.
I want some of King Henry.
King Henry. All right, Gerson, give me your stack.
Help me out here. There we go. All right, let's go.
Gerson.
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked about. I don't think we really talked too much about this game, but Allen, Beasley, Sander, and Gesicki. I mean, if there is a stack that can possibly carry you to a tournament lineup with value running backs, don't be paying up. That you can't fit, but obviously Diggs is not in there, so that's the way you're going to be different.
Yeah, I like that. I like that call. So yeah, like I said, I had a hard time finding a bring back stack candidate, and the best game I could find, one that I liked, receivers on both sides of it, was Ryan Tannehill with AJB, and bringing back Pittman, who falls in that value tier. It still allows you to pay up elsewhere. Tannehill's not super expensive. AJB is a little bit up there, but he's not even that expensive either. So you can definitely pay for some good running backs with that stack as well. So Tannehill, AJB, and Pittman is my stack.
That's so cheap. It's such a cheap stack, too.
It really is. Yep.
And now, the sick call of the week.
Kyle just put in the chat here. He says, or is G dressed up as the booty call king? I love it. All right, Jason, I'm going to go to you first on your sit call because you have an interesting angle on your sit call. Usually we just give a player and go with it, but you actually gave a stat line on a player, so let's hear it.
Yep.
All right, so if we're going to pull back the curtains here, a couple, like at the beginning of the season, I kind of wanted to change the sit call segment a little bit, and I wanted it to be more of like bold call. So every time I come on, I just don't do the sit call thing. I just do the bold call. But I like to add a little thing, like you said, it's Jerry Judy for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns, baby. Let's go.
That's a pretty good stat line. If you hit that at 4,900, you're golden right there. I love it.
It's our version of the helicopter play. That's what Jason is, the helicopter play. Just dropping down to tell you Jerry Judy's going to get 150 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Nice.
Yeah, but unlike Ian Hardis, I actually land them, okay?
Well, speaking of landing them, here's another transition for you, Jeff. I am going to piggyback off of Gerson's sit call from last week. Last week wasn't the week you played Tyler Johnson. This is the week you play Tyler Johnson at 3,100. We know Mike Evans against Marshawn Lattimore, but if you look at Chris Godwin has not actually had great games against the Saints either. The best player against the Saints is usually whoever that third wide receiver is. In the past, it was Scotty Miller, but this week it's Tyler Johnson. And I think if you put him in at 3,100, I think he's got a reasonable 4 to 5, maybe in 6 target expectation. It'll let you pay up for all the other guys we've talked about earlier in the show, your Josh Allens, your Stephon Diggs. So I love Tyler Johnson this week, and I think he fits so well into builds.
Good stuff. All right, Gerson. You haven't hit on a sit call yet, man. So let's get this one. Hit this sit call, man. What you got?
Again, thank Captain Obvious. I saw a player today. He said he wants to get traded, even though he's not really good no more.
Right.
I was like, all right, dude. Like, this is not the NBA. Calm your ass down. Desean Jackson, he no longer wants to be part of the team. And it's kind of stupid because, dude, you're toward the end of your career. Don't you think you might want to take a shot to win a Super Bowl?
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, they're going to trade your ass to the Detroit Lions.
Thank you. That's the best team he's going to get on. Just enjoy it. Enjoy the ride.
Okay, I mean, if I got a chance to win a Super Bowl, I'll be like, yeah, I'll sit the bench. I don't care. But, yeah, Van Jefferson is the guy I'm talking about. This guy, they actually drafted him 2 years ago in like the second round, I believe, or the third round, one of the two. It was a high draft pick. But yeah, Van Jefferson last week got 7 targets, 4 receptions, 43 yards, and a touchdown. And I can see him getting maybe like a 40-yard touchdown because Houston's prone to give up those big plays, you know. But yeah, definitely Van Jefferson, 3,900, really cheap. You know what? Don't worry, guys. That's not my booty call. I got a better looking girl. Yeah, I like Van Jefferson. I really do. I even think it's not just a sick call. I like him as a run back on that because you know you got Cooper Kupp, you got Robert Woods, and with Van Jefferson, it could be pretty cheap. It makes it cheaper.
Yeah.
So
I like that call. I do. And for those listening on audio, you heard a lot of things going on over there with Jason and Gerson. Jason just put his balloon girlfriend in Gerson's face, and he just knocked him out.
Hey, for the Halloween show, you gotta listen. You gotta watch YouTube. We just bring the little fun. I mean, everybody did awesome. They dressed up. You know, it's awesome. I had so much fun.
Let me show you guys. Let me show you guys Jason Jaguar.
I love that Jaguar. It's so good. If you're watching the audio version, you are missing out for the picture of the Jaguar that is on screen right now. Please go look that up.
Jason sent me the freaking picture. He goes, "What do you think?" I'm like, "Did Xander draw that?" No, I didn't.
I'm not the greatest artist, man. I was like, man, I don't have a printer, so I had to draw it. And then next thing I know, I'm like, I can't draw worth my life. I suck at this.
Look, here are sketches that he kept doing over and over. He tried really hard.
That's great.
I love it. I appreciate it, man.
That's
I appreciate
awesome.
the commitment.
Definitely. All right, let me give my sick call. So my sick call, a little peek behind the curtain here. I didn't have a sick call before I got on the show. I was like, shit, I got to find a sick call. I'd forgotten all about it, so I didn't do a whole lot of research on this. But Corey Davis is really, really doubtful to play. They haven't officially ruled him out yet. And I know it's the Jets, and I know they're terrible and whatever. The quarterback is terrible. But Denzel Mims at 3,000. Please, I was a big Denzel Mims fan. Please do something this week to show us that you're actually still decent. I thought he had a good chance to be a good player this year. So Denzel Mims is my sick call, and I see I see Jason and Gerson don't agree. They're shaking their heads and.
No. Well, we liked him.
No, I'm just as mad as you are about his. Like, I feel like he has the potential. I feel like he has it, but the Jets aren't giving him the opportunity.
Yep.
It's like you ever seen that meme where you poke someone?
Yeah, do something. Yep, 100% agree. So hopefully this is a Denzel Mims week. I don't know if he'll be a huge number there, but at 3,000 he's not going to do much for you. All right, guys, that wraps up yet another Halloween episode of the Armchair Fantasy Show. I think this is our fourth one. Some great costumes. Jason as Urban Meyer with his lap dance balloon girl. King Henry over there with the Burger King Henry hat. I love it. And we got the
jersey too. It cost me a lot of money.
Yeah, and the jersey too. He went out and bought the jersey as well. He went all out. And then we got the Tim Reaper over there. Tim Reaper, I love that name. I'm gonna change I'm gonna change your title there to Tim Reaper. And of course, I was Captain Obvious if it wasn't obvious already. All right, guys, let's go around the room. Give us your Twitter handle. Talk about the Facebook group. We'll go to you first, Tim Reaper.
Yeah, I'm going to be changing my Twitter handle. You'll be able to find me at Tim Reaper moving forward. But right now I'm at Keto DFS, and then you can always find me in the Roundtable group. Excellent conversations in there every week. Jump in the group. Just get in it.
Good stuff. Gerson?
Yeah, you can find me at a DFS Armchair Roundtable. I think someone finally changed the name, and it wasn't me, so good job, whoever it was.
It was me.
Yeah, you can find me there on Twitter. Fantasy GDFS at Fantasy GDFS. On a Sunday show, sorry about last week, guys. I got really sidetracked in the morning.
We were smoking some barbecue.
Yeah, we were smoking two pork butts, and we had a blast that day. We had friends over and everything, and I got sidetracked. I didn't go to the pumpkin patch like Jeff, though. Don't worry, guys. But no, you can find me on a Sunday show at whatever time Jeff says.
11:30 Eastern time, or it might be 11 a.m. now, right? Y'all do it 11 a.m. Eastern time.
Yeah.
Jason, I know you're done on Twitter, but talk about the Facebook group one more time.
Yeah, just find me on the Facebook group. I try to post the polls. That seem to be very helpful. It's just October is probably like the worst month because it's all out of family time for me, so I'm pretty busy. But I try and post it here and there, and also like it's hard to when I post the polls. Some people are like, "Why don't you put the prices next to the names?" I'm like, you know how much time I spend on this? It probably takes me like a half hour to do it.
Yeah, it's time consuming.
But it's cool. I do it, and there's another guy's been helping me out. So
Jeff and I know all about it. What do you think of this? Dude, you just asked me about you asked me a question. I gave you my answer. I'm not gonna go back and forth.
Yeah.
But hey, that's where you can find me. And also, Jeff, I know you're humble, but hey, good job on your sick call last week, Dante Pettis. You did it before he was Dante Pettis, so good job.
Yep. Thank you, sir. All right, guys. As always, you can find me on Twitter at JeffLambert77. Maybe I'll do like Tim and I'll change my name and I'll be Captain Obvious DFS or something. But for Jason showing his awesome Jaguar there, it looks more like Pac-Man. All right, for Jason, for Gerson, for Tim, I'm Jeff. We will see y'all next week.
Peace.
Go Pack, go, baby. 7 in a row.
Oh my goodness, I can't believe that. AJ Green retired halfway through.